Good evening, everybody. My name is Donna Levinson, and I have the privilege of being one of two assistant deans responsible for admissions at MIT Sloan. I am joined this evening by two of my colleagues, Melissa Friedman and Rich Landry, who are going to help me basically coordinate and respond to any questions that you all might have throughout the evening. Before we get started, I thought it would be helpful for us just to share a little bit with you on how we at MIT Sloan have been handling the pandemic, because I think it speaks volumes to who we are as a school. As I think all of you know, this began last March, and we immediately launched into online classes for all of our students. For the fall, across all of our programs, we have made access to campus available to anybody who could get here. Our students are in a bit of a hybrid mode where they're taking some of their classes online and some of them in person. We're working very hard to balance the the desires and interests of our students and of our community with the health and safety for each and every one of us, which is why I have this slide up. If you were to come to campus, you would see these posters everywhere where it's really important for people to wear a mask, watch your distance, wash your hands, and watch your health. Very much a philosophy of ours. And so far, things have been going extremely well. We're halfway through our fall semester. We are also a mission-driven school, and you can read the mission for yourselves. To me, the mission is really all about identifying and solving the world's greatest problems. And I think we can all agree that throughout the course of this pandemic, there have been many, many problems to solve, and the impact of this will be felt for many years to come. And having said that, there's probably, in my mind, no better place to be than at MIT and MIT Sloan, where there were those who said that MIT was developed or built or created just to be able to serve challenges and problems just like the one we're facing right now. We have a portfolio of programs, and I think it's important to show you the full suite of programs, but also to confirm with all of you that you're here today to hear primarily about the three programs that are in the box on the left of the scale. So I'm going to go from right to left. On the far right side, we have our executive MBA and our Sloan Fellows MBAs, which are really targeted towards experienced people with 10 plus years of experience. Our executive MBAs have actually on average 17. It's a 2-year, 20-month part-time program. Our Sloan Fellows have on average 14 years of experience, and they're an in-resident 3-semester program. We have our traditional MBA and our Leaders for Global Operations program. The LGO program are for people who actually want to receive both an MBA and an engineering degree in the course of that 2-year period. And then we have a little bit further down the spectrum, really 3 offerings for people who are early stage professionals or getting right out of undergraduate school. That includes a Master of Finance, a Master's in Business Analytics, and an MBA early deferred admissions offering. And I will talk a little bit about all 3 of them. I encourage each and every one of you as I talk, if you do in fact have questions, please feel free to submit them in the Q&A function. And we are going to leave time at the end to address whatever questions that you may have submitted already, as well as take any additional questions from the audience to the extent that we have time. One other thing on the slide that I want to mention before I dive into it is, so for any of our programs, we have created 3 certificates, and you can think of a certificate as a roadmap to a concentration of a particular area. They include healthcare, sustainability, and analytics, business analytics. And one of the very unique attributes of these 3 certificates is, in fact, it's open to the entire MIT community. Of all the programs that you may be looking at, regardless of what it is, we are the only school who can say we are MIT School of Management. And it's not just something we say, and it's not just a logo that you might see, on the school's wall or on a sweatshirt that somebody may be wearing. But we are very much an integrated school. So as an MIT Sloan student, regardless of the program that you're in, you can actually take courses throughout the institute. Likewise, we at Sloan have these offerings of these 3 certificates that are made available to the entire community. And so you could imagine that you might be able to be sitting in a sustainability class with somebody who's a PhD in physics. And why that's important is because the nature of the conversations that get generated and stimulated in our classrooms with all these different perspectives and experience levels really enhances your experience. Regardless of our programs, so for our portfolio, we have a standard set of offerings. And you can see here, there's a variety of clubs in any given year. There's somewhere between 60 to 70 clubs, depending on students' interests. We also offer different kinds of forums. We have speakers come to talk, and all of this is available to you regardless of your program. Something else that's really interesting to note is that as an MIT Sloan student, you also become both an MIT and an MIT Sloan alum. We have 24,000 plus Sloan alums throughout the world, and there are over 129,000 MIT and MIT Sloan alumni students. It's not clubs. 130,000 clubs. Sorry about that. Now, if you look at on the right-hand side here, the active companies and jobs created and annual revenue that it can be directly associated with MIT, we would potentially be the 10th or 11th largest nation in the world. So work that comes out of MIT, that comes out of our students and alums is incredibly impactful, which ties very nicely in with our mission. So the first program I want to talk about, I'm going to talk about actually these three here that are very much targeted at all of you. It would be a master's in business analytics, a master of finance, and then our MBA early admissions offering. And the first one I want to talk about is the master's of business analytics. This is a 12-month program. It is a rigorous deep dive into data analytics. Our class size is currently 60, and we don't have plans to increase it in the next couple of years. It is a very close-knit partnership between MIT Sloan and the Operations Research Center. This is a bit about the profile of our current class. We have 60 students. 72% of them are international. 39% of them are women. Our students have, on average, 16 months of work experience. A lot of that experience comes from a combination of some people who have been working full-time and many people who have done internships while they were an undergrad. It's academically very rigorous, where our students have an average GPA of a 3.82 and an average GRE quant score of a 167. Having said that, when you look at their backgrounds, we have, most of our students come from a STEM background in this program, where you can see engineering and math, and then make up the majority of the class. This is a little bit about the format of the program. Let me just step back and say, I know I'm going to be covering a lot of material in a short period of time. The purpose of this is really to give you all an overview of these three programs. And then to the extent that there's one of them that really excites you, you are more than welcome to reach out to us to get more details about a particular program. So business analytics, it's a 12-month program. It actually starts in the fall and goes straight through summer. You can see lots of technical classes that you're taking during the course of this program. And it is, in fact, STEM designation. What else do I want to say about this? One of the key components of this, and I'll talk a little bit more about it later, is in fact a capstone project that you will be doing from June through August. So that summer, you're basically in the classroom in the fall and in the spring. And then in the summer, you're doing a capstone project. And then you come back to campus in late August. You do your presentation, and then you've for your capstone project, and then you're done. So it's really a true 12-month program. Master of Finance is an 18-month program with a 12-month fast track. It is a deep dive into quantitative finance. You have the opportunity, though, to modify some of your core of your electives to focus on capital markets or corporate finance or even financial engineering, if you like. The MFin class size hovers around 120. This year, we actually have 130 in the class right now. Our students have, on average, 13 months of experience. It's very international. They're 92% international with 27 countries represented. It also has 44% women. And again, STEM designation and a relatively large percentage of our students come from a STEM background. The MFin program, regardless of whether or not you're doing the 12 or the 18-month option, it begins in the summertime in July. There's a summer semester, there's a fall semester, there's a spring semester. And then for those of you who are doing the 18-month option, you will most likely do an internship and then come back the following fall to complete your degree requirements. You have the option to pursue a thesis, a master's thesis, if you want it. Truth be told, very few of our students actually pursue a thesis, but if you're interested, you are more than welcome to do so. So the third option for you is, in fact, applying to our MBA program early, getting accepted with the commitment, though, that you'll then go and work for 2 to 5 years. And so sitting here today as, most likely an undergraduate student, you might be asking yourself, why pursue an MBA? What is the value of a two-year MBA program? It gives you tremendous breadth and depth. It allows you to take your career to the next level. And it really helps you build not just a professional network, but also a personal network that's really lifelong. At MIT Sloan, we offer the LGO program that I mentioned, which is a dual degree with the School of Engineering. And we also offer a dual degree with our Department of Urban Planning and the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. If you hold on one sec, I need to get my drink. Thank you. I'm back. That was quick. So why would you be interested in this and why apply now? Well, if you're thinking about an MBA, you can actually, plan ahead. You're in that mindset of, doing schoolwork. And so filling out an application is, just think of it as another project or assignment. It guarantees you a place in a future MIT Sloan MBA class over the next 5 years. Excuse me. And again, you actually have the flexibility to decide. The minimum number of years of work experience is 2. The maximum is 5. And over the course of that time period, we will reach out to you every year and say, is now the time, is now the time, is now the time. It also provides you the opportunity to start building a network of other like people who've been admitted early before you even start your MBA. So this is the class size of our class of 22, the current class that just started this past fall. It is 437 MBA students. This does not include LGO. Truth be told, this is slightly larger than our MBA class has been in the past due to a lot of uncertainty with what was happening with the pandemic, as well as the knowledge that we would have a percentage of students participating online in the fall. We felt that we would increase the class size a bit. We do not anticipate it staying this size. It will most likely go back to somewhere more around 400. 5 years of full-time work experience has consistently been the average for a very long time. Average age is 28. Undergraduate GPA, you can see, is a 3.46 with a GMAT of 722. This year, for this class that just started, our percentage international is 34%. That is slightly below what we normally are. We're normally at about 40%. Due to challenges with acquiring visas and potential travel restrictions. We saw many of our international admits requesting a deferral. So, and then our percentage women here is 39%. We've been hovering around the 40% mark, and even slightly over now for about the last 5 or 6 years. Undergraduate majors, you'll see a little bit more diversity here than you've seen with the other programs. Yes, we have, the number one is engineering, but then you see econ and business. And so it really runs the gamut in terms of people's undergraduate majors. The MBA curriculum, something worth noting, is that we have a 1-semester core. So your first semester in the fall of whatever year you matriculate, you have a standard set of required classes. After that, all your remaining 3 semesters, you have tremendous flexibility to take all kinds of electives and to really shape the curriculum however you see fit. If you happen to be interested in finance, enterprise management, or entrepreneurship, you may in fact want to do one of our tracks, but they are completely optional. You also have the opportunity to cross-register for classes, either at other MIT departments or even at several of the schools at Harvard. And then for your second year, you have your 2 semesters, the fall and the spring, all electives. Now, one of the key, I would say, commonalities across all of our programs is a very strong belief in action learning. And action learning is very much about being able to learn a concept and then actually apply it relatively quickly. And as a result, we have a whole host of lab classes here that you can see. There's an analytics lab and an enterprise management lab, India lab, China lab. There's the finance lab and the finance research practicum. So it's interesting, the Masters in Business Analytics and the Master of Finance each have a requirement. The MBA itself does not, but so many of our students love these lab classes because in these classes, you're actually studying something and then you're working on solving a real problem for a real company as part of a team, and you're getting to know that company. In the days where we traveled, there was some very interesting travel aspects tied to a lot of these projects. My hope is that opportunity will return again, but even if it doesn't, you are working with a company, you're helping them solve a problem. In many cases, these are early stage companies that are looking to either grow to the next level or expand their own offerings, and our project teams really make a difference with these companies. So this is just briefly, relative to each program I mentioned. For MBAN, there's actually the capstone projects, which is that summer internship I talked about. For MFin, there's the finance research practicum, which is a 3-week project. And here's some of the companies that sponsor that. And then for MBA in general, that you can pretty much do any one of the labs. And these are all, I would think, companies that you're all pretty familiar with who are sponsoring different projects for our different labs. I just talked about that. Let's talk about careers. So one of the primary objectives of you attending any one of these programs would in fact be to advance your career in a particular area. And we have an amazing career development office that works very closely with our students to help best position you to ensure your success. Not just in that first job out of school, not just in necessarily acquiring that first summer internship, but in that 3rd or 5th job. And as you can see here, we do this in many ways. We have early online access for the career portal. Our career development office organizes fairs and treks. We have dedicated career advisors, people in each one of our programs. We have what we call a career core. So that's basically upfront in each one of our programs. You're dedicating a day, you're dedicating a day of orientation, or for MBA, it's actually embedded throughout your fall semester in building and developing those critical skills that you need to be successful on your career search. We do offer on-campus recruiting, but we also work with you to figure out how to best expand and extend your network with alumni and employers. As you can see here, for briefly on the career front for our MBAs, 95.7% of students have a full-time offer 3 months after graduation. 6.7% started a business, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. And 73.5% were offers made via a school facilitated activity. But my guess is you're thinking, wow, that number's pretty low, that 6.7% started a business out of Sloan. And you're right. And the reason is because we have many, many people coming to Sloan, to any one of our programs, thinking that they're going to go off and start their own business. And what they learn very quickly is it's hard. It's really hard. And once they learn how it's really hard, then they understand that it's really, really hard. And that perhaps even after 2 years of an MBA, they're not quite ready. They either don't feel like they have the skills for their particular, to launch their idea, or they may have the skills, but they haven't yet quite formulated the idea. So many people, upon completing an MBA, will continue to go and work for a couple of years. And it's really at that 3-year mark post-MBA that we see a much larger take-up of people who then feel comfortable going out and starting their own business. For our business analytics, our students, as you can see, are data scientists and machine learning scientists and consultants, and have been working for leading companies, really since the program's inception. 100% of our students, since the beginning of the program, have had at least one offer at graduation. Many of them have actually had multiple. For our Master of Finance program, you can see a variety of different roles that people go into. 100% of our students in the 18-month program completed their summer internship. And 72, this is an interesting stat, given how global and international the program is, that 72% of students actually accepted offers in the United States. And I say that because we do have many students who are international who want to come to this program and stay in the States. And so I think that stat speaks to it. Again, if you look at these companies, these are all very well-known financial services companies. All right, I'm going to take a breath and we're going to talk about the application. Okay, so the application for Masters of Finance and Business Analytics are pretty similar, which is why we talk about them on one slide, and then the MBA is slightly different, and I'll talk about that in another. So I think what's important to know about any of our applications is that they've all been designed, really, there are no tricks. It's really all about us getting to know you, and over the course of the process, you getting to know us as well. So here are the components. We ask for a resume. We have a couple of short essay questions. And again, they're not tricks. They're more about why are you interested in finance? Explain to us how you're going to make the most of this program. 3 letters of recommendation. If you're still in school, we like 2 of them to be academic and 1 of them to be professional, perhaps from an internship. If perhaps you're not in school, then we would flip it and ask for 1 academic and 2 professional. Transcripts from all schools that contributed to you receiving a degree, and we need them in English. GMAT or GRE. So truth be told, for this coming year only, given the ongoing challenges throughout the world with the pandemic, we will accept your application with or without a GMAT or GRE score. We will assess it as is. We will offer an interview and we will make a decision, and we will admit you without a test score. For this year only are we doing that. In addition, for this year, we are not requiring a TOEFL or an IELTS exam for those of you who are not native English speakers and have not studied in an English speaking school for the entire academic time. Whew, that was a lot to say. Okay. There are 2 video questions tied to this application. One of them is a randomly generated question that could be anything from, please recommend a favorite book. If you were to describe yourself as a color, what color would it be and why? To perhaps share with us a current event that's really stuck out for you in the last couple of weeks. And that's really meant just to be able to assess, how quickly you think on your feet and your presence, and again, English language skills. The second question is something that you can prepare in advance. We're not looking for professional grade quality at all, but something that you could use your phone with, which is introduce yourself to your future classmates. So that's more of a personal declaration, what interests you, what gets you up in the morning, what excites you, what would you want your new 60 or 120 best friends to know about you. And again, does not have to be professional grade at all. The intention really is for you to use your phone and to upload it for us. For both of these programs, we have deadlines very early in January. Our thinking is that a lot of you are still in school and you'll have the holiday break to finish up your application. And so you can see the dates, the application deadlines. All applications are not reviewed until after the deadlines. We then will review all applications, invite a subset of people for an interview. Interviews are required, next step in the process, and by invitation only, conducted by our admissions committee. For this coming year, I can tell you right now, they'll all be done virtually through Zoom. We're actually experimenting with Zoom starting next week for our MBA program. And so we should have it down pat by the time we get to all of you, but there'll be Zoom interviews conducted by our admissions committee. And if invited for an interview, we may at that point ask you to share additional information with us. Again, no tricks. Okay. So far, so good. I thought there was something else I wanted to say, but now I can't remember. Okay. For the MBA early admissions, and the application checklist aligns a little bit more with our traditional MBA application. We ask for a resume, we ask for a cover letter, 2 letters of recommendation, transcripts, again, GMAT or GRE, but not this year. And then just the one video statement, which is introduce yourself to your future classmates. This application deadline is April 20th of next year. And again, all applications will be reviewed. A subset of people will be invited for an interview. Interview are required by invitation only, conducted by the admissions committee, and will be online next spring. All righty. I'm guessing there'll be some questions and we'll come back to that. All righty. Melissa and Rich. That was an incredible amount of information. I understand that. And I apologize if I went a little fast on some, but I think we have a bunch of questions. So do you guys want to start feeding them to me? And I can even go back to some slides if people are looking for clarification.
Yeah, we have a few questions. For business analytics and for MFin, are there any prerequisites that we're looking for in their application?
I'm sorry, I'm choking on my water.
Yeah.
So that's a great question. I think for both of them, we are definitely looking for people who are very quant heavy. So we're looking for somewhere around 4 advanced math classes, and we're also looking for programming. Now, these are not requirements, so it's not, you can submit an application without, but in terms of the type of person we're looking for people who really demonstrate very strong academic skills in the quant related classes. And so that very much helps. And for both of them, being comfortable with programming languages, and we're not necessarily married to any one, but just the whole concept of programming is also very, very helpful.
Would somebody be at a disadvantage if they didn't come from a strong quant background?
So you'd actually be at a disadvantage, I think, in terms of doing the program even. And I have to be honest, we would never, ever want to admit anybody to any one of our programs who was not academically capable of doing the work. So it would take an extreme situation, like, for example, and in this day and age, this is possible, somebody who perhaps has a liberal arts undergrad and fell into a position where they became a data scientist and have spent a year or so actually working, doing really hardcore data science. I could see the possibility of somebody in that situation. So you have the work experience that sort of is a credential for your ability to do the work. There's no guarantees there by any means. But I just didn't want the other thing to be an absolute. But I can tell you, our admissions committees for both programs really look hard at your academics.
Great. What kind of jobs do MFin graduates usually get into after they graduate from the program?
Can I not go back? Shouldn't I be able to go back? Because I have a slide on that. MFin, hold on. Rewarding careers, business analytics, finance. So you can see here, there's a list of all of the different functions that our students go into, the different types of, and the job titles. And then this is a list, a subset of companies for whom they work. It really runs the gamut, to be honest. Does that help?
Yeah, great. Moving on to early MBA.
Yep.
So if somebody was admitted, are they able to change the year of entry after they're admitted, or how does that work?
Yep, you don't commit to a year. You could even answer this one, Melissa.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I know them. I'm just asking.
oh, no, you could do this. So what happens is we admit you, and you have to actually deposit sometime by the summer, and we give you the deposit is actually a very nominal amount. It's been $750. And then you decide when it is over the next So you have to work for at least 2 years, but then in that 2 to 5 year range, you're making that decision. We, and by we, I mean Melissa's team, is reaching out to you every year after your first 2 years saying, and it's a year in advance because it has to align with our whole application process. So we're reaching out to you in the late summer, early fall, saying, is next year the year you want? And if it is, you let us know. We then schedule a call with you. And so if you were to reach out to us and connect with us in the summer of 2021, that would be to start the program in the fall of 22. So, and then we give you, though, it's really up to you. When you're admitted, you are not admitted for a specific year. And so we're building up a pipeline of people who've been admitted through MBA Early.
We also have a few questions about the letters of recommendation for each of the programs. What are
Yep.
we looking for? Do we want professional or do we want academic for the 3 programs?
Yep. So for MFin and Business Analytics, because they both have 3 letters of recommendation. If you're still in school, our preference is 2 academic and 1 professional. If you've been working for a year or so or 2, we want 2 professional and 1 academic. Regardless, we want at least 1 of each. That's really important. And the truth is, we want people who can speak to your abilities and the impact that you have made during, from a work standpoint on a team or a group or an organization. We want you to pick people who, number one, really believe in you, because the reality is it takes time to write a meaningful recommendation. I've recently been asked by one of my colleagues to do so, and this is something that is time consuming because you want to do a good job. We put an awful lot of stock into what is written by recommenders, and you want to make sure that you have people who are willing to take the time to do so and to write a relatively detailed, meaningful recommendation. I can tell you this, what not to do. If you happen to be in the elevator with the president of the company you're interning at, or even the president of your university, and that's all they know about you, don't go up to them and ask them to write you a recommendation. Even though their title may be impressive, there's no way they're going to be able to write anything meaningful for you, and that is a wasted opportunity. On the MBA Early front, it's 2 letters of recommendation. And again, if you're still in school, it would be nice to have 1 academic and 1 professional from an internship that you may have done over the course of your school, the time you're in school.
Great. So for the business analytics program, do we offer any global opportunities, and will students be able to study or do internships overseas once COVID gets better?
Yeah. So for business analytics, yeah. So for business analytics, we have had capstone. So capstone projects are 2-person projects that you're doing for a company. You actually get to know your company in the January timeframe, and you do a little bit of work on your project in the spring, but you're really doing the bulk of it in the summertime. And we actually, in the past, have had companies where our students have traveled to be on site with them. I'm hoping that once we get past the pandemic and there's a level of comfort with people traveling again, that we would resume some of that. Yep.
Great. If somebody already has a master's degree in another field, would they be admitted to the MBAN program, or would they be considered overqualified?
Nope, not overqualified. Now, what you might want to do is find an opportunity in your application to explain how perhaps that other master's degree better positions you, reinforces, sort of don't ignore it, incorporate it into your explanation of why you want this program and why you're a good fit.
Great. So for early admission, what should they focus on when compiling their application? Because for the regular MBA program, a lot of it is focused on the work experience. So what is something that they should focus on?
Yep. So I think that's great. So let me explain something. Across all of our programs, we use what we call as we're looking for evidence of certain qualities that we think are really important for you to be both a successful MIT Sloan student and then successful in the workforce. And the truth is, we have been able to successfully adapt these qualities for our different programs based on people's relative experience. So let me give you an example. For us, the ability to demonstrate your ability to develop meaningful relationships, whether that be in school or at work, is a really important quality for us to be able to assess. And so while for people who are applying straight into the MBA program, we may be looking for evidence of this in their work environment, for those of you who are applying through MBA early, we're looking for evidence of this through classrooms or projects or clubs or sporting activities that you're involved in. There are many ways for you to demonstrate these different qualities and capabilities. And you'll see we've designed the application, and we have a core set of readers who are trained to look for evidence of these capabilities throughout the information that you provide to us based on your experience.
Great. So the GRE and the GMAT, as you already said, is not required for this year's application.
Correct.
But are there any disadvantages against people who actually do submit the score this year?
There really isn't. So if you have a score, if you've worked hard to get a good score, submit it. The other thing that we have done, again, thanks to Melissa and her team, is we've made it very easy for you to provide us with additional information that will allow us to assess your academic ability. So perhaps you've been studying for the CFA or the CPA, or you've taken other types of standardized exams that you want to give us results for. Or you've taken other classes, not necessarily your traditional classes in school, but you've taken online classes or an online certification. We want to see all of this. At the end of the day, the major reason why we ask for GMAT or GRE is to help us assess your academic ability. And given that you can submit without, we're giving you the opportunity to share evidence of other ways that you can demonstrate that.
For all three of these programs, is it possible to work part-time at the same time as being a student?
So my advice would be absolutely not. Can we stop you from doing any of that? No. And the reason is because for any one of our programs, there are so many opportunities beyond what's been on these slides that you will want to take advantage of it and want to really make the most of it. Is that's how you should be spending the year or 18 months or 2 years. I strongly discourage working. There'll be, if financing your degree is a challenge, and I completely appreciate that, there are opportunities for you to potentially be a teaching assistant in some cases, or a research assistant that could result in a tuition reduction of some sort, and that could help assist you. But I would not go into it with the mindset that you're going to pursue any one of these degrees and hold down a 20-hour-a-week job that we know you're going to want to really do well at as well.
Great. What would be some of the benefits of applying to the early admission now versus just waiting to apply to the MBA in a few years?
Knowledge, removing uncertainty, being able to look out for the next, let's be honest, you could sort of have the next 7 years in your life plan. You're graduating from undergrad, you have a job, you do that job for 5 years, and then you go and pursue your MBA for 2. Boom, you know what that is. And instead of worrying about it, you can just enjoy it. The other thing is that some people are actually thinking that they're going to work longer now that they know that, because they're not going to be worried about the MBA while they're working and timing it just right for themselves. So it just eliminates a level of uncertainty, which is a really big factor. And to be honest, there's uncertainty just in terms of how competitive the process will be in 3 to 5 years. It's not that it's not competitive now, but we're on a certain trajectory that it's not unreasonable for it to continue to get even more competitive. And so why not get in when it's less competitive than it may be in 3 to 5 years down the road? I think I could have said that more eloquently, but I hope everybody understood what I meant.
Okay. How would a joint degree option such as like HKS or LGO work with early?
Yeah, so for HKS, the truth is you apply now for us, and then you would apply separately for HKS closer to the year that you actually want to start at HKS with us. And with HKS, so our degree is 2 years, HKS is 2 years, and you shave 1 year off. So you spend 3 semesters at each. On the LGO front, you apply to us and get in. And then in the year that you want to actually matriculate, you would apply to LGO, and we're developing a bit of a fast track process for that. And so you wouldn't have to, you certainly wouldn't be like resubmitting the whole application. We'd be asking for an updated resume and some LGO specific information at that time. As of right now, there is no early offering for the general masses for LGO.
Great. Can you speak a little bit about how fellowships work for all of the programs?
Yeah. So for each of our programs, we have a modest pool of fellowships that are really merit-based. There is no requirement for anybody to submit any additional information. If admitted, you will be automatically considered for a fellowship, and you will be notified of fellowship. So we will work very hard to notify people of fellowship at the time that they're admitted, not for MBA early. MBA early, people will be considered for fellowship in the year that they tell us they're going to matriculate. So we don't give out money early for that. And I say for the most part, because there have been situations where we've offered fellowship to somebody and they have not accepted our offer. And so then we would repurpose that money. And in those cases, we may then turn around and offer that money to somebody who had already been admitted. And so not 100% of people get notified of fellowship at the same time as admission.
Great. Can you cross-register if you are in the MFin or MBAN program
Cross-register, you mean for at other schools?
at other schools in Harvard? Yeah.
100%. Yep. Any MIT student can cross-register in other departments at MIT and take classes at Harvard Business School, Harvard Law School, Harvard Kennedy School.
Great. So if somebody's applying to MBAN and MFin, how
Yep.
many letters of recommendation would they need? Could they recycle them, or how does that work?
So I'm actually glad you brought that up, because I was meaning to remember. I couldn't remember I had something to say on this earlier slide. That's what I wanted to talk about. So people are more than welcome to apply to both. We treat them as two separate and independent processes. And so there's no cross-looking. There's very few people who know, except perhaps myself and very few other people, that you in fact applied to both. And so you should treat them as two separate applications completely. Obviously a resume is a resume that you submit to both. They have different short answer questions. From letters of recommendation, I guess I would leave it up to you, but I would think that for it to be meaningful, you would want to have a conversation with a recommender, explain to them the two different programs, and make sure that if they're writing only one recommendation, it's not so generic that it's meaningful. It's not meaningful for either. I mean, perhaps they are writing two letters, one specific to the business analytics degree and the other specific to the Master of Finance. You will get two separate decisions all the way through the process. At which point in time, if you're admitted to both, and I've done this the last couple of years, I then reach out and I say, I'm a good independent sounding board because you've been admitted to both. We'd love for you to be a part of community. I'm happy for you to, and I don't really care which program you join. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about trying to figure out which one's a better fit. But that also includes two application deposits, application fees as well.
If somebody wants to apply to MBAN or MFin, but they are applying right from undergrad, is that okay?
Oh, yeah. I think the majority of people in both of those programs come straight from undergrad.
Great. So those are most of the questions. I think we've answered a little bit of everything from each program. So, yeah.
Are there any other questions? Anybody? Okay. So hopefully this has been very helpful. Really meant to give you an overview and, hopefully a starting point. You can see here, there's 3 ways for you to stay connected with us. We have dedicated people answering your emails. We actually have a whole host of other events that are coming up. I'm so sorry, but at this point, I would normally invite you to come visit us on campus, and for now, and most likely for the spring as well, you would not be able to do that this year. So we're continuing to develop more and more virtual programming for you to get a feel for the school, the community, the classes. So please stay tuned because there'll be a lot more made available for you. Um, with that, I want to thank Melissa and Rich for helping me out this evening. I want to thank each and every one of you for logging in, for your interest in MIT Sloan. I hope that you, your families, your extended families are all doing well, navigating these crazy, crazy times that we're facing, and that you're all safe and healthy. And I look forward to hearing more from each and every one of you. So thank you.